All right, the next step is we have to check the complexity of this model. What that means is that we have to identify this model to make sure it is what we call over-identified. And again, there's a section back in the path analysis that will explain this, so I'm going to kind of go over it really fast. But what we're looking for here is we are going to check the degrees of freedom of this model, and we want it to be greater than 0. So if you get if we get a negative degree of freedom, that means our model is under-identified. Or if we get a degree of freedom of the 0, that means it's just identified. If you get either one of those situations, that means that the Amos program will not be able to run your SEM. You can still do it by hand, but I don't recommend it. So what we're looking for is a degree of freedom of greater than 0. That will call it over-identified, and that means that we could proceed with Amos. So let's go ahead and figure out how we identify this model. So the degrees of freedom is the number of observations. Those are the rectangles, right? Those are the measured variables minus the number of estimated parameters. So we'll go through this step by step real fast. So the number of observations, to get that number of observations, is you take the number of indicators, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll remember we got rid of A5 because the EFA told us to. So we got 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. So that's 12 times 12 plus 1 is 13. And that's a grand total of 78. So we have a total number of observation is 78. I'm going to move it up there. The next part is we got to figure out the number of estimated parameters. So the number of variances is the number of rectangles, right? The number of measured variables, and each one of these measured variables has an error term. That too is also a variance. So basically, the number of variances is the number of rectangles plus the error term. So we got 4 of each. We got 4 measured variables, right? And 4 error terms. So it's 8 times 3. That looks like 24. Path coefficients, those are the arrows, right? It could either be a one-way arrow or a two-way arrow, and we got 3 of those. Covariances is the same as the number of exogenous variables, and we only have 1. The attitude is the only exogenous variable. So there's a 1. So you add that up, and we have 28 estimated parameters. Let me move that out of the way up here. And the original degrees of freedom formula was the number of observations, 78, minus the number of estimated parameters, 28. It gives us 50, which means that our model is over-identified, which is just where we want it. So we're good to go.